Found out my wife is having an affair with dirty-minded coworker. Story 1. I, 32 male, found out at Thanksgiving my wife, 31 female, has been having an affair with a coworker for several months. Establishing the scene, during COVID, my wife and I had a lengthy rough patch. Distance, emotional distance, and a deserted bedroom, you name it. I work in information technology at a hospital and it was my time to cover on call for the holidays. As we approach my uncle's home for the holidays, a phone call comes in, so I take it as the rest of the family walks inside. As a hotspot, I was using my laptop and my wife's phone. I use an Android phone and haven't used an iPhone since the home button was gone. She receives a Snapchat notice. I expect to erase it, but it instead opens it. I received a message with a kissy face emoji from the account, mirrored. I had no idea that accessing that message would lead to multiple saved messages from a co-worker dating back to the beginning of this year. I don't use Snapchat, however it seems that if you don't save a message, it disappears over time. As a result, the chats are choppy, but they do contain some inappropriate messages that are effectively 20 questions the version. I glance through, my stomach drops, I finish my job and attempt to walk in quietly to tell her we have to go, and then call in for work. My wife, who had known me for around 6 years, realized it was something more. I went to the vehicle, 4-year kid in the back, and attempted, unsuccessfully, to stay calm till I got home. I check through the mails with her more carefully and see her giving out his address. It's not a date if you have me observe the 6-foot guideline, someone said. He won't be home and so on. He came over. She felt terrible. They made uncomfortable small chat and she begged him to go. This occurs in April after almost 4 months of who knows how much messaging, since the majority of it was not preserved. After then, the communications become considerably less frequent, barely a few each month until August, when they cease. I snarl. Nerd, I say. Inquire with him about what has been going on with my wife over the previous several months. He claims that nothing occurred. She claims that nothing occurred. All I have are many months of flirtation, a photo she sent of herself in a bra, and the upcoming country date at our property. So here I am. Disgusting, unworthy, second best, deceived, and most importantly, foolish. She's lied in the past, going to bars and claiming that she had to work late. Inappropriate messages that she didn't respond to but also didn't block. She disguised partners who were close friends from me. I knew our marriage was in trouble. I'll acknowledge that I played a role in it. I stopped being romantic and I reduced our chats to a minimum. We were swaying. I don't blame her for desiring to stray, but for the past several months we've been going to therapy and I thought things were going well. I've been trying again and she has as well, despite both of them insisting. Otherwise I can't escape the notion that something physical is going on. What I'd be to believe that, right? I've seen the worst of myself in the previous 24 hours. She stated it was 60% emotional connection and 40% physical appeal since I let myself go on 5'7", 150 pounds and a realistic 6'10". This man is in good form, taller than me and just 25 years old. She's clearly upset, has generally taken my vocal scoldings in stride and wants to try to make things work. Here's where you can help. Reddit. How will I ever be able to trust her again? How do I split up our family and miss at least half of my daughter's childhood for the next 14 years? I'm afraid of who she'll surround herself with. I don't want to lose my kid or be concerned about her well-being. How can I get over the fact that I don't know what happened? The romance ended 4 months ago and it was all their fault. But I'm not sure whether I'll ever be able to forgive her, much alone regain any kind of self-esteem or respect. If only for a little while, I was second best. First and foremost, thank you for the overwhelming reaction from the community and the many direct comments and advice I've gotten. It's gotten me through the hardest 48 hours of my life. So, I've been sitting with my wife since yesterday, going through the specifics of the whole affair, the reasons she cheated, and where we go from here. Following this lengthy discussion, I contacted the affair personally. I was aware that this was a high-risk gamble, but I was familiar with him and his nature. He was sorry, provided me the information I needed, and it matched the tiniest details my wife had told me. What might have been fuel for the fire turned out to be a little respite. I understand that most people will label me foolish, but I don't believe they had a physical relationship. She found attention and confidence that she didn't seem to be receiving from me. This relief, however, was short-lived due to the subsequent talk with my wife. We spoke for many hours about her personal troubles that led to her straying, and I ultimately persuaded her that the only way out of this is to be honest. So, like most cheats, she revealed that this wasn't her first affair. She experienced the same experience with another co-worker 2 months previous to her relationship with Nerd. Except that instead of being a nice guy, geek or sweetie, this man was the alpha grab what he wants, balls exploding with confidence kind. The tone of his text was far more explicit. Basically, he's outlining all of the things he wants to do to her in great detail. She responded, but said the only result was a drunken kiss in the parking lot. Yeah, I know. Here's where I'm looking for extra help. For the first time in our marriage, she told me a difficult reality that I had not discovered on my own. She has stated a desire to undergo counseling, polygraph testing, and admit her own wrongdoing, and she despises herself. Yes, I know it's all the usual nonsense a cheater spews, but I, too, am afflicted. I want to assist her as my daughter's mother, whether I remain or depart. It's really difficult for me to abandon her when she's at her lowest point and wants to change. How can I get rid of the what if? What if she eventually turned out to be the person I fell in love with and always imagined she was? Address the issues that wrecked us and brought us here. Of course, she may just be telling me what I want to hear and then return to cheating. Is it really so difficult for individuals to adapt and develop as a result of such heinous behavior? Around Thanksgiving, I discovered that my SDBXW had two primarily emotional relationships over a period of many months, without going into too much detail about my personal situation. I'm wrestling with a moral quandary and would appreciate some opinion. My SDBXW's closest friend, let's call her B, just married her boyfriend of around 7 to 8 years. B has always been kind to Ma, STBXW, and even to me, but she suffers from the same sickness as me. They took a break around 3 to 4 years ago for 1 or 2 days. During that period, she had an affair with a high school crush and then resumed dating as if nothing had occurred. I know she explains it since they weren't legally together, based on her chats with my STBXW. I try not to become involved in other people's affairs. I always felt she was for what she did, but now I feel obligated to inform her husband. I wish someone had informed me. My STBXW's whole office was aware of her affair. They knew what my wife was doing since they observed me pick up my kid there every day. It sickens me that no one informed me for over a year. I can't say I blame them. I'm in the same moral quandary. Is it my job to sabotage a marriage? Is she justified in taking a vacation for a day or two? Or am I going to sit and watch this guy live a lie? He's not a close buddy, but he's a nice person. And we had dinner with them on several occasions. It doesn't seem to be correct. But neither does he damage his ignorance's bliss existence. It's been a long month, what with the holidays and our 6-year anniversary. I'd had many more terrible days than good, but enough time had gone that I could see progress in at least some areas. As if my D-Day being Thanksgiving wasn't enough to mar the holidays, my wife confessed to a third affair on New Year's Eve. This time, though, she acknowledged to having with this one, something she still denies of the other two. So after a month of ugly pictures, self-esteem problems, and the weight of reconstructing a life with no plan B, I'm back at square one with my worst fears verified. The title of this essay was inspired by a comment shared to me by another Redditor soon after D-Day. I ignored its advice and now I'm paying the entire price. Yes, I tried to concentrate on my personal development throughout the previous month, but I couldn't. I moved out, but I still spent several evenings a week with her, establishing expectations and limits for this separation. She was going to counsel and to figure out why she made these choices, and I was going to recuperate from the event's impact. I determined that if there was any chance for our marriage, it would be when we both become better individuals on the other side. She eventually addressed many of her problems in treatment and had the courage to tell me the truth. The trouble was that I wasn't prepared to hear it. I pleaded to be allowed to hear it. For weeks I probed and lid with the trickle truths, but I was already unshattered. Images of things that used to kill me now appear unimportant. All of my progress was lost in a matter of seconds. What's amusing? When she informed me, she burst into tears, and I consoled her for hours. I didn't cry a single tear until today, when I fully lost it. I messed up. It was then that I realized how little I had been focused on myself the whole time and how much of my own development I had sacrificed in order to be here for her. I reinvested emotionally in her. I didn't say anything, but I was hoping for a happy ending in which I forgave her. She changed, and we made it work. I'm not sure I have the strength for it anymore. However, I am proud of her. I'm proud of her growth and the fact that she accomplished something for the first time in the 6 years I've known her. She was honest with a painful reality. It's not something I hear often in our group, but about half of the anguish I feel is the result of her hurting her own life. Sure, the resentment exists, but I adore her. This did not cease. Her mother is no longer alive, and her father just relocated out of state. Her sole close friend is my cousin, and her only sibling died when she was 11 years old. My family accepted her with open arms and is heartbroken by her decisions. I was astounded that my calm, tiny, timid wife could do such horrors. As surprised as I was. But she's our child's mother, and I need her to be okay. So I've asked my family to offer her a place to stay in their spare bedroom, which they've had for the previous several weeks while she looks for a new place to live. I know I owe her nothing, yet the rage and resentment have mostly subsided in the previous several weeks. I know I owe it to myself to be happy, but I can't let myself go. Her regret is genuine. Her self-hatred is genuine. How can you stand by and watch someone you care about trash their own life? But here is where I need your help. How do I get the courage to develop on my own? I'm doing all the necessary measures, but I'm finding no consolation in things that used to bring me delight. I can't play a video game for more than 10 minutes at a time. I push myself to go to social engagements, only to find myself overwhelmed and bored with petty chat that I used to like. I can't concentrate on movies because my mind wanders to horrible pictures. I work out a couple times a week, but despise it. I can't even anymore. I fought so hard to acquire those few inches after D-Day, and now I'm back where I began, with more agonizing pictures than ever before, as well as a month's worth of mental weariness. Worst of all, I'm slowly coming to terms with the fact that I'm not going to be able to reclaim my happy little family. That glimmer of optimism for reconciliation is fading. That surviving this requires concentrating all of my remaining power on myself. I was there for her, but she was also a source of entertainment for me. She served as a punching bag for the rage, a sympathetic ear for them. She bolstered my anxieties and low self-esteem. Looking her in the eyes now hurts more than the assistance she offers. For the first time in my life, I actually now hurts more than the assistance she offers. For the first time in my life, I actually feel alone. Story 2. My cheating wife is mad that I told the girlfriend of her affair partner all the truth. Some background information is given in the following section. 3 weeks ago, I was able to get my wife to admit to having an emotional affair with another man she knew about. Despite repeated requests, she refused to end the relationship, which is still continuing on today. I'd been doing the Choose Me dance for about 2 weeks when I decided to do a full 180, which involved telling AP girlfriend about the affair, among other things. As a result, my wife was upset with me about it. Then she went on to add that she was worried AP would knock me up over it. My wife and AP have simply stopped chatting in order to maintain their good reputations with his girlfriend. They have unfollowed each other on social media accounts, but I have strong evidence that the affair is still going on, as well as substantial evidence that the affair has tragically escalated into a physical relationship. The following describes my current situation. When I first realized that a .p. was involved, it took me a long time to realize that there could be no reconciliation. All that is left now is for me to serve the papers, which I will do as soon as I can. During this week, I want to make every effort to meet with a lawyer and to get the papers served in the shortest amount of time feasible. So should I tell A.'s business partner once more? Alternatively, should I seek legal advice? The fact that I've reached this position in my marriage is beyond comprehension to me. This is something that would have never occurred to me a month ago. Our marriage had been perfect up until this point. We never left each other's sides, we had lovely sex, we went on dates every weekend, and we always had one another's backs no matter what. I've done all in my ability to ensure that she has a pleasant life ahead of her. A guy my wife met at the gym and fell in love with after just 2 months of knowing him began an emotional affair with him. In addition, I'd like to point out that this individual has 3 separate gym memberships with distinct clubs. After being confronted about it, she refused to discontinue her relationship with him. She claims to be head over heels in love with him, and the two have exchanged new days and passionate messages. It comes as a surprise to me when she says she hasn't loved me in a long time and that a P makes me feel like a woman, but the love was genuine until this person showed. She's entirely transformed since meeting this guy. She's cold, bitter, and utterly uninterested in me. Eventually, after 2 weeks of practicing the Choose Me dance, I confessed my feelings for her and concluded, it's either him or me. I'm not sure what I want right now, she said. I hurried out of the home, notified my parents and in-laws about her and contacted a P.'s girlfriend to notify her of my actions. She became agitated and yelled at me, "You're a wimp for alerting our families." When she discovered that I had informed APGF, she lost her mind and began shouting, shoving, and throwing things at me. Afterwards, she informed me that we're done and that there's no chance. The relationship is still alive and well. It was necessary for wife and AP to pretend they were no longer seeing one another in order to get AP girlfriend off his back. If WW and AP are so in love, why isn't he willing to leave his girlfriend? Since then, I've made a full 180-degree turn. I've also discovered communications between WW and AP in which they discuss what they want their kid to look like, going on public dates, and whether or not the affair is becoming physical. I came to the conclusion that it was time to call it quits and file for divorce. In around 10 days, she will be caught off guard by documents. She'd never expect me to do anything like this, which is a good thing since she'd be disappointed. I need to demonstrate to her that I'm serious about this and that I'm not simply a fallback option. When she's sentenced, I plan to go nuclear on her, informing our families of everything she's been up to with AP, providing proof of a continuing affair and physicality of the affair to A. PSEGF, terminating her gym membership, separating my money from our joint account, and forcibly removing her from the house. I'm terrified of her being served and doing all of these things, but I know it's necessary if I'm going to have the fob lifted from my head. However, I'm prepared for the worst-case scenario in case an atomic bomb is dropped on my marriage. For a divorce to be finalized in my state, couples must be apart for a period of 6 months before filing. Assuming she does not return for me within that time limit and makes the necessary revisions, I realize there is nothing I can do. If that's the case, it'll be difficult, but I'll be okay and will become stronger as a consequence of the experience. When I wrote this piece about a month and a half ago, I thought I was done with the Choose Me dance, but looking back, I was certainly not. I imagined that having her served would finally wake her up, but that was not the case. She felt relieved by the divorce. As I said in my previous article, in my state, after the first filing, the couple must be separated for 6 months before the processes may commence. To avoid ruffling any feathers, I opted not to go entirely nuclear. Let me tell you, listen to those on this sub who encourage you to divorce while WS is in a fair fog because you'll get a better bargain. She gave me our home, our dog, and pretty much everything else I desired. She also consented to sign a court order barring her from suing me for spousal support. She relocated today. It was certainly the most bittersweet experience I've ever had. On the one hand, living with her for the last 2 months had been extremely horrible. On the other hand, it seems like a significant chapter in my life is coming to an end. I sobbed very hard as she walked out, but I know it's all for the best. She and AP are still chatting and flirting, and he still has his GF. Wife is as innocent as hell and is still neck deep in fog. I'm still astounded at how adultery alters a person's whole demeanor. My wife and I had been married for 10 years, and she was unquestionably my closest friend. We had a lot of ideas for the future. She could hardly stand me once AP entered the picture. She despised me and couldn't handle being around me for the last 2 months of our relationship, and I was much more cordial than I should have been. You'd think I was the cheater. Haha. I'm coming to grips with the possibility that she was a concealed narcissist. When I published my first blog entry, I was a jumbled mix of emotions. I was unable to eat or sleep, and I spent the most of my time lying in bed feeling miserable. The progress I've made in the last month and a half has been incredible. I'm feeling much better now. I still regret what might have been and what could have been, but it no longer fills the majority of my thoughts. I see has been quite beneficial. Besides going to the gym and soliciting assistance from family and friends, I've been reviving my previous activities. I've also planned a few of new hobbies that I'm really looking forward to trying out. In light of the fact that she cannot legally sue me for spousal support, I came to the conclusion that finding new and better paying employment would be a nice change of pace for me. I've scheduled a pair of interviews, both of which seem to be extremely promising. Thank you as well to everyone who writes in this sub. Your stories and advice have been crucial in my recovery process. After realizing how close I had been to experiencing the worst of what would turn out to be one of the most awful experiences of my life, I was overcome with a strange sense of confidence and fearlessness that I'd never experienced before. This period of separation will serve as a new beginning for me. In my life, I have the ability to direct events in whichever manner I see appropriate. I've never felt more in control of my life than I do right now. I'm not sure what the next 6 months will have in store for me, but I'm certain that I'll continue to develop into the best version of myself throughout them. Any BS out there gore struggling, no matter how much they gaslight, blame shift, or rewrite history. I was subjected to all of this till she moved out. Remember that cheating is not your fault and you are sufficient in your own right. Your WS may have sought to address any relationship difficulties with you, or he or she may have just ended the relationship as an adult. They chose the choice that was the most insensitive, immature, and cowardly. WS are weak individuals who have significant flaws in their character. The good news is that you can come out of this alive, and that you can heal in a very short amount of time. This may be some of the most broad advice on this sub, but remember to take things one day at a time and to focus only on your own needs. Putting in the effort to focus only on oneself is an example. It is fully and completely effective.